Hey everybody, JP Hunt with InkSoft, and you're tuning in for another episode of the InkSoft Sell More Merch podcast. I'm super excited to be joined by Mel Lay of Allmade. Mel, we went back and forth for ages trying to coordinate a time and a date to connect, and here we are. So I'm super happy to have you on, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Great. Well, some folks, some of our listeners might not know your backstory and sort of your origin story, but it's certainly one worth unpacking before we get into our conversation today. So let's kind of level set here and do me a favor, share your backstory. Tell us about how you got into the industry and sort of what brought you, to present, which is your role with Allmade.
Yeah, so I came into the print industry in 2014, and really I was a stay-at-home mom, and just had two young babies, and I kind of was on the brink of the mom at home making stuff and then making money gig. And I call it the mompreneur generation. But so I just wanted to make cooler clothes for my kids. We have kind of an alternative outdoorsy lifestyle, and I just really couldn't find anything that fit that for my kids. And I'm into fashion, so it mattered to me. And so I thought, well, hey, maybe I could just start making some clothes. And I honestly don't know why screen printing was the thing for me. I guess I've always been into making shirts for fun, events and whatnot, kind of the DIY way. But I just kind of started making these really cool unisex designs, and took it upon myself to learn how to screen print via the Ryonet DIY tutorial. And
Nice.
I just really went hands-on early on, and then ended up actually just falling in love with screen printing in general and knowing the trade. But what's awesome, SandiLake Clothing was the brand I created. I started selling it on Etsy, just to kind of, see how fast I could kind of make back my investment. Was really the initial, I bet I could make back, the cost of the screen printer, all of that, within 1 year was what I estimated. And, things on Etsy were really kind of just exploding that year. And I was one of the first children's apparel lines on there. And so it just really took off. And I think, we had ourselves paid off in just a few months, very surprisingly, and just had this huge, burst of customer loyalty and these people that just kind of kept buying all of my shirts, like every design we'd put out, and just really exploded fast. Very grateful. So I used to think it was, dumb luck, and some of that totally is, but we worked really hard, and my husband's a part of it. My kids were kind of the blood that flowed through the brand. And anyways, just it kind of exploded from there, and had a little one-on-one with Target. They copied a design of ours that kind of went viral, and which really amplified things from there, and then got on Shark Tank as a result of that. So it was a really awesome experience, which has led me to, the rest of my career in this industry since then. And just kind of fell in love with the print industry, and being in a very male dominated industry. It's fun being a female, and kind of learning the ropes, and meeting other women who are also, doing the same thing I am. So it's been a fun ride so far.
Awesome. Well, let's unpack a little bit more of your previous experience with SandiLake Clothing. And as you described, explosive growth. You obviously, learned a lot about being an entrepreneur, which obviously is at play now with your experience at Allmade. So, before we move on to your sort of present, give us a bit more insights into some of the things you learned, from starting and operating, SandiLake Clothing. Give us insights like what, aside from, getting on Etsy and being sort of an early adopter there, what were some of the sales and marketing efforts that you used to enjoy that rapid and sustainable growth?
Yeah, so I really lucked out. I have a husband in marketing. So early on, he kind of gave me a few pointers, and then I used, just kind of knowledge of social media to take those a little further and be a little more creative with them. But the first thing was, I think that gave us success was just being, really creative with our customer service. And so, the Etsy way is kind of, you make your package as cute as possible. The customer experience as you get your product is just an incredible experience. So that was kind of the first very simple thing we did. But I would say the major thing for growth with us was really taking advantage of social media. This was before Instagram even had business accounts, and it was just kind of a platform where you post, pictures of food still back then. And we created this beautiful community of moms that kind of wanted a similar thing that I did. And so I showcased my lifestyle, my kids, and then also the other people who were interested in that same thing. And so with social media and beauty and building this community, I was able to just really amplify our platform. And that community just grew to the point where they have your back when you need them to. And it was just this like amazing, huge family, which helped us grow on social media wise exponentially, just because word of mouth. And I just really knew my audience because I was my audience. And so I think that really helped to relate to my customers. And I really I got to give Instagram all the credit for my early on growth with the company, because it just was incredible how you can build a community there.
Totally. That's awesome. Well, thanks for those insights. Well, I'll ask you for one more right out of the gate, since we try to focus our conversation on, sales and marketing matters that, positively impact apparel decorators. So of everything you've learned in your entrepreneurial journey to date, if you were to be able to sort of offer up your very best sales and marketing advice, the things that you really wish apparel decorators would embrace or change, to improve their bottom line and their revenue results, what would be that distilled advice?
Yeah. So I think number one, I used to always say, it's hard work, which I think that's kind of beat itself into the ground. And I think everyone knows, hey, if you're going to be successful, you better work your butt off. So, so that was initially what I would say. But now after, just my experience with SandiLake and then now moving into some other platforms, authenticity by far is the greatest thing that I have learned. The best tool would be authenticity and storytelling. And if I were to give any advice to any company, any brand, really all across the board, would be show, it's different age. We all know that 2020, a lot of us are working from home now, and, shops are smaller and people aren't going out as much, but they still have that phone in their hand. And so if you're showing that authenticity and telling your brand or your company's story through social media, through your email blast, whatever it may be, I've learned just over the years that it's the greatest way to build, this amazing community of people who want to continually buy your product and be, kind of a follower of your brand, no matter whether you're making a product or selling a brand. It doesn't really matter. I think people just want that backstory and who you are and why you got to where you did and who your team members are and what you're doing, in between posting products, and so I think that just that authenticity is bar none, what I would say should make number one priority.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. It's the difference between being a business and offering up what could be perceived as a commodity product, or making a more meaningful statement about who you are, what you represent, and trying to align with those consumers. So I think that's really great advice.
Yeah. So people can just see through it now too. Like if
Totally.
you're fake and you're not, you don't believe in what you're doing, people are smart, man. So it's like they'll see right through it, and then they won't believe in your brand. And so it's just so important.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the buzzword amongst sort of classic marketers, right, is you must be authentic, and it's really hard for those marketers to really convey what it is that means. And so I think the most successful examples, and I think you would speak to this, is just do what comes natural, right, and speak power to truth and whatever your mission or vision or values might be. But you're right, consumers can sniff out a fake brand in a heartbeat. So it seems like if you don't deploy it the right way, you could also get yourself in trouble,
Oh, yes.
So I think we initially started our conversation and agreed to do this podcast because I wanted to really pick your brain and drill into helping to teach decorators how to position and present and really ultimately sell more sort of premium products, right?
Mhm.
And, I thought of you immediately because Allmade isn't the least expensive garment. And there's been a lot of apparel decorators, a lot of mutual customers that are wildly, successful in selling Allmade product. So that was the original attraction to bringing you onto the podcast. So let's talk about Allmade as a product, as a brand. Maybe give some background and context for those that aren't familiar. And then I'm going to ask you for some advice as it relates to your experience in positioning a premium product compared to, say, that economy T-shirt. So we'll put you on the spot to tell us all about Allmade, if you will.
Yeah, no problem. So as I was running SandiLake Clothing, I was introduced to Ryan Moore, who wanted to start this awesome T-shirt brand that was all about sustainability, wanted to disrupt the blank T-shirt industry and create this brand that had products that was good for people and good for the planet. And it was a huge undertaking, but I agreed to kind of test the waters and see what it would be like to help grow this company. And he actually brought together 10 screen printing entrepreneurs, owners all over the country. We got together, traveled to Haiti, and started building this T-shirt that was providing fair wages to Haitians that had, there's so many economic orphans, they call them in Haiti, and kids who are in orphanages, but they have parents, they just can't afford to keep kids in their family. And it was devastating going there and seeing that and realizing, wow, these kids actually have parents. And if we could only provide them jobs that paid more, then they could keep their kids, and we could really actually help the economy of Haiti and specifically Port-au-Prince. So that was my initial, just a passion for people. And I wanted I wanted a purpose in my brand, SandiLake, bigger than just creating cool clothes. I wanted something that was meaningful to me as my company grew. So I jumped aboard. And then while we were there, I learned all about how you can actually, just really how the apparel industry is just so bad on the environment and the way we make clothes. I mean, I'd always heard about sweatshops, and you hear more about that type of thing, but really just the water consumption and chemicals, and it's just terrible. And so I learned a ton about that. And then, I mean, from that day on, or that week on, I was sold on helping create this new awesome product, which became Allmade Apparel. And we've been selling shirts for 2 years now, and just did a big partnership with Sanmar. So building even more product coming out next year. Really excited about it. But our shirts are basically made out of recycled polyester and organic cotton and tensile modal. So very eco-friendly and super soft still and great fitting. And we're trying to be competitive in the market with other brands as far as fit goes and style, but also just, kind of be this option that it's good for the environment. And we really just want to raise the standard of, T-shirts and, the standard blank. We want to be, we just want to raise the standard from that dollar, economy T-shirt you were talking about.
Sure.
And yeah, so advice on marketing these. So we are like a $5 price point for a blank shirt. Obviously, it takes a little more money to become organic, do the recycled polyester, and create what we're making. But we like to talk to, first of all, if you're wanting a product like Allmade, a part of your brand or selling to your customers, then we really say, if you have a customer that aligns with values that Allmade has. So Allmade's values are, we care about the planet, and we care about people, and price, it's a little bit more, but for us, it's worth it, because if something aligns with your values, man, you're going to be able to sell it exponentially better. And so, sorry, one second. And so we always say, hey, if you've got a lot of companies that are, Fortune 100 companies and breweries and philanthropy groups, it's always so frustrating when you have this awesome, company like 4Ocean, let's say, which is a brilliant company that cleans up the ocean. And they should be using T-shirts. They're always wearing their blue T-shirts, which they are, by the way. So I'm using them as an example because they're great at this. But they should be wearing an eco-friendly shirt because that's what they're portraying in their brand. So when you're selling a premium product like this, you want to make sure that your customer aligns with the same values as, the brand you're selling them, whether that be Allmade or any other brand for that matter. But we also like to say that, you got to have every price point. So you want to have a t-shirt that is, more economy. And obviously there's always going to be those people that come in and they want the cheapest shirt and there's really no negotiating otherwise. And maybe there's a very extremely low budget. It's a school t-shirt or whatnot. Those people are probably going to always stick with that. And you can do your best to try to sell them. But we highly suggest just focusing on having kind of 3 different price points, a lower, a medium, and then, the best t-shirt option, we like to call it, which would be a shirt like Allmade, an eco-friendly, sustainable shirt. And just, kind of walk them through and say, hey, this is what you're doing with, this shirt. This is what this shirt's going to give you. And, this is our premium product. And let them kind of make the choice and then it kind of give them all the information that they need. One thing we really strived for when we started our brand was to create an impact calculator. So you can go on Allmade's site and actually see the clear impact you're making with, 100 shirts and how much water you're saving and how much recycled plastic you're saving. And so for us, that was a really amazing way for our customers to sell Allmade, right? Because you have a customer come in, they want 100 shirts, and you pull up the website, type it in, and they know, wow, I'm saving, 600 water bottles with this one order. And right then and there, they're feeling that impact, and that's exciting for them. And it's just so much easier to sell them on that premium product.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Do you, I guess, in this sort of presentation to the consumer, right? You're listing out options, good, better, best, helping to guide them, asking questions about, well, what is your budget? And it seems like to really embrace this fully, it's not being the lazy decorator. It's being proactive and asking the right questions, right? How important is sustainability to your business or your brand or your organization? It just seems like, if as a decorator or promotional product distributor, if you just took a little bit more interest in really understanding the person you're selling to and seeing what is important to them, it seems like that'd be a great way to present, Allmade or a sustainable product, right?
Yeah. I think it's a great way to sell any product.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Get to know the customer, right?
Yeah.
So you raise an interesting question when we talk about sustainability, right? And this is increasingly becoming something important to every organization. A lot of corporations, in fact, are embracing these governance and compliance with, every year we're going to make X investment or do X things to reduce our footprint. So it's becoming a sort of a very prescient, thing amongst larger organizations in particular. But what would you suggest, for an apparel decorator or print shop to be thinking about as it relates to, embracing sustainability and in both, the products that they're reselling and offering up to customers, but also their print methods and maybe the way they handle cleanup and things of that nature?
Yeah. So, it's interesting. When we started this venture, the founding printers that started Allmade weren't all really doing environmentally awesome things in our shop. We, still using I was still using Plastisol ink only. I hadn't even, tested any waters of any other, cleanup way. I was wasting a ton of, cleanup products as well and chemicals, and which we all know is just can be so devastating to your health as you're making apparel. But so for all of us, this was definitely a wake-up call for our brands as well, and it's been really beautiful to watch. So many of our founders, Dominic Risacci of Superior Ink in Denver is a great example of somebody who really transformed their entire shop. They're a huge shop, and they a huge print shop, I should say, and they completely switched over to water-based ink. And then, so I was actually talking to Dominic the other day about, what are some ways people can kind of follow in your footsteps and what you did. And he actually had some people come in and evaluate his shop and let him know the areas like, hey, you could really work on this. You could start working on this, and to not all in one day just say, hey, I have to change everything because I need to be a sustainable company, but just take little baby steps here and there to just say, hey, we are going to require, recycling our products and offering water-based ink whenever we possibly can, and, reusing as much as we can. And I think that those little baby steps just, people notice it. And I think that's the second fold of this, is that your customers now in this day and age, this is almost a requirement to a lot of them. And yes, it depends on what part of the country or on what customer walks in the door. But for so many people, if they know that you are, trying to be as sustainable as possible in your business practices, it's almost like this little extra push for them to want to do business with you, because it's just a part of a lot of people's values. And granted, I do live in Oregon, which is like, the greenest state ever, and we're very proud of that. But I grew up in Washington, just a border away, a state away, and in my county, we didn't even have to recycle. It wasn't even a thing, and that's still a lot of places in the United States. And I think that I still cringe when I go home and I hear see my dad putting pop cans in the garbage bin. It just like, but for me, so I think that not even just in business, but in everyday practices, we just, need to be better. We're one of the countries in the world that has the least amount of recycling. There's, so many countries doing so much better than us. And I think that, it starts in businesses and it starts with those small choices. But I do think overall, your customer that walks through the door, it's just they just want that now, and some are even going to ask you, which I think is amazing. And we have actually been encouraging people, no matter what product you're buying, to ask more questions, ask how it's made, ask what they're shipping it in, so I think that it's just a kind of a no-brainer to start transitioning your brand or your company into just this sustainability, these steps that you can take.
Sure. And I think anecdotally, we've seen, InkSoft customers really engage with local community fundraising programs. So they can, it's sort of a goodwill generation opportunity, right? Where, hey, we live in this community. We care about, our community. So here's the things we're doing. We're raising funds. We're, a sustainable operation, and we're hiring. So just, it feels like, it's the right thing to do. But there's a lot of marketing upside if you actively talk about it and the value in concert with maybe the other things you're doing. But I think you're right. It might sort of be the thing that pushes a consumer over the edge to commit to print shop A versus print shop B. The pricing's nearly the same, but hey, these guys really care about our community. I think that's a powerful, marketing opportunity if used consistently and made very obvious and present. So it seems like one of those things that might get neglected. It's maybe something we care about, we do, but do we actively communicate that this is what we believe in? These are the steps we're taking. It's being sort of active in the marketing side.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. But I always say if you're going to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. And I love that, if you are doing, community events and cleanup and, involving your team, which by the way, it's going to be incredible for your team, because, what employee doesn't love to be, a part of feeling included. And so that's just amazing. But also your community, it's a great way to market to your community that you're actually, cleaning up and doing things together. And I think it's amazing. And I think it's just, on social media, there's just a ton of greenwashing right now. And by actually doing those things and going out and making a difference, and then sharing that and inviting others to join you, it's just, you're being authentic again and real. And going back to that very first question you asked me about, just building this community and marketing your, authentic brand is just brilliant. It all flows together.
Well, that's a great segue to my next question. And this has to deal with this notion of cause-based marketing, which is something I think Allmade is an excellent case study for cause-based marketing. But from my view, Allmade isn't just a sustainable, premium sort of fashion fit, apparel brand. It sort of stands for something, right? And I think that goes back to the origin story about starting, as a founder-led organization with people that are in the industry that care, that align with the mission and the vision. So do me a favor and share with us, what is meant by, Allmade sort of positioning, feel your impact. Yeah.
So when we first started, the initial tagline that we had was "Make It Better," which I still love so much, because make it better meant so much to me at the time, because I wanted to make my own life better, as far as sustainability and the apparel I was using and how I was making apparel and how I'm talking to customers. But, and so we started off with that. However, I mean, for anyone building brands, you can't just trademark any tagline. There's some other people that had used it as well. So
Nice.
as the brand grew, we realized, okay, we need to kind of reposition ourselves now that we are selling shirts, and this is catching on, and we knew it was going to be something. So early January, we kind of got together as all the founders and some of the people with our new partnership with Samar. We all got together and kind of reinvented, went backwards and talked about, again, why did we start this company, and get back to our roots, make sure that we were, staying, within everything that we had wanted the company to be from the beginning. And out of that came this new tagline, "Feel Your Impact." And really what it means to me is, first of all, we love that our shirts are super soft. It's a sales tool of ours that we, love telling people, because it's true. All you have to do is touch an Allmade shirt and you know that it's super soft. So feel is kind of just this texture, it's this hands-on word, but it's also an emotion. And we just love that, we want our customers to make an impact, and the end, t-shirt wearer to feel like they are making an impact as well, because they are, because every shirt has 6 recycled water bottles in it. And so it's all about making an impact on this planet and on people. And I love the double entendre of the word "feel." And I think, as far as cause-based marketing goes, now that I've been a part of a brand that is, cause-based, I just don't know if I could ever do anything else. I think that there's this amazing passion that comes behind, doing what you love, and then also being able to, help others while you're doing it. Not everybody can do that. But I just think it's, you see so many companies that are, for every shirt we'll plant a tree, and there's literally companies you can just donate $1 from that shirt sale and they'll plant the tree for you nowadays, and so I think what's brilliant is that it's really easy to make your company have some sort of give back or cause to it. And I think it not only as a marketing tool helps, people relate to your brand and love your brand, but it also, it just makes you feel good, and making an impact is, in whatever area that is just, it's a feel good experience. And we really need that in our lives right now, I feel like, especially this year.
I agree. I think most people would agree. So let's kind of relate this. I think that we can bring this conversation together. So, InkSoft customers have done an amazing job with cause-based marketing in terms of fundraising for local community, for local organizations that are in need, and especially during COVID. We saw some amazing success stories of how, decorators were able to mobilize, their experience, their expertise, their capabilities, and really get to task helping, local small businesses raise money to sustain themselves. And so that was the Here for Good sort of fundraising, local community efforts. And obviously that's cause-based marketing in full effect. And a lot of folks that had engaged there weren't fully aware that that's exactly what they were engaging in, cause-based marketing, but they continue to do it to this day. And we continue to see amazing results. So let's talk about maybe how, positioning a product like Allmade, right? Sustainable, fashion fit, a great backstory. Like, how do you integrate those two together to go to market with an amazing product that has a unique story with, say, your fundraising capabilities, your ability to do good? How do you think about sort of bridging those together?
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I kind of think it's a no-brainer too. If you're helping out, well, I might take that back. I think that, 5 to 10 years ago, if you were doing some sort of fundraiser like this, I would say that most of the time, and tell me if I'm wrong, but most people would use the cheapest shirt on the market. They would use the dollar shirt, because then there's, your margin is better and whatnot. But then you sell that shirt, and then, and you're helping out these great organizations by fundraising, and, you're making money and things are popping. But then they're buying, those aren't going to be repeat customers because their print is bad, and the shirt, they don't like it after it was washed once and it shrank weird and it's not soft, or, all these issues where the cheap economy shirt isn't really a shirt that lasts. It's not really a shirt that you end up loving or want to, every time you go to grab a shirt out of your drawer, you wear over and over again. And I think that just, for repeat customers and people to love your brand and love your shirt, you and want to continue to support you, especially if this is a lot of these that came out of these fundraisers were logoed shirts. They were, the ma and pa restaurant down the street that needed to survive in this moment, which is, by the way, it's so beautiful. And I love that you guys did a platform for this, because I know so many shops that it helped immensely, even some of our founders. And but I think that it's kind of a no-brainer now that with more products available like ours, to use a shirt that people want to wear. And that story, man, it's such a great selling point. I mean, when you have these online store platforms and you have, your product description and what is there to say about a shirt? Not a lot. You can say the size and the fit and whatnot, but to add in there, that this was, made with fair labor, and that it's made from, X amount of pounds of recycled plastic, or 6 water bottles, or saves this much water compared to a conventional shirt. I feel like these little selling points just help drive home that, hey, you're getting a great shirt that's helping your community, but it's also helping the planet and people. And it's just it's just good all the way through. And I think that, there's really no better way. So I do think that they go hand in hand. And and I agree with you. I don't think people really realized that this setup was cause-based. I think everyone at that moment was trying to survive. And,
Yes.
How can we stay afloat? We need to keep, printers on the press. And I love everything that came out of this. And it saved so many shops, and I'm sure it helped the bottom line for so many businesses that had to close up and are still closed. And so it was brilliant. I loved it.
Yeah, I think one of the meaningful things to take away from the Here for Good movement is part of the best practice was using a premium product and using that in the product presentation and the storytell. I think the other thing that we've come to learn is understanding again the customer and their needs and their brand, and asking the simple questions. Making it clear that the products that we're going to choose to represent your brand and your identity in print ultimately, whether it be a gift giving or however the goods will be distributed, the product itself is going to be a reflection of your brand and of your identity. So, we know your budget is limited, but we might want to rethink, how we're going to allocate that budget, and really driving people towards that premium product. And I've been hearing a lot of discussion in our industry about the sort of the, lasting value compared to the single use product. Mm-hmm. But I think really helping to educate clients that not only is this product going to be a reflection of your brand and your logo ultimately, but how is that going to look over time? Do you expect and want people to leverage this product and get multiple exposures to it, or are you okay that it's going to end up in a landfill, right? Mm-hmm. So it just seems, like the industry is really coming together sort of at a whole, right, to talk about these things and try to retool salespeople and try to sharpen the product presentation to really make eco-friendly products sort of inclusive, and even prioritize those, because it does matter, right? And it's going to matter in the future. So I think developing those good habits now makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen such a huge movement even just in the last 2 years, and it's really exciting to be a part of, and really proud of so many shops for just making those simple changes. And it's it's kind of, it feels so nerdy to be like, save the planet, and it really, it's so much more than that. It's just being mindful, and it's a great marketing tool, and if if it aligns with your customers' values, then that's the shirt you should be selling to them, not the economy.
100%. It's interesting too. I'm seeing examples of this notion like outside of our industry, and a good example is in sort of investments, right? There's now mutual funds or index funds that are comprised of companies that meet certain criteria for sustainability or for doing good for the environment and opting out those companies that might be responsible for pollution or greenhouse gas emissions. So, I mean, even investors are now following their passion, following their values and virtues, and making really intentional decisions to invest their money with, again, a mutual fund that has a composite of companies that meet that criteria. So it's just interesting to see this happening in different spaces altogether. And it's consumers that are really driving this sort of demand. So I think Allmade is obviously well positioned to continue to be successful. Given I see continuous year-over-year growth for these types of products. So with that said, what should people expect from Allmade now and into the future? I mean, is there anything you can speculate or sneak peek for 2021, or what you folks are planning? Is there anything you can share with our listeners?
Yeah, so we are, continually trying to make great products. Right now, our line is made up of just our tri-blend apparel, and obviously have wanted to expand that. But we want to be diligent about where we make our product and where our cotton comes from and so forth. So we finally got to that point this year. It's really exciting. Little sneak peek, 2021 spring, we are coming out with a line of 100% organic cotton t-shirts.
Nice.
Yeah, made with India cotton. And we found this amazing factory there called Shahi that is completely vertical manufacturing and just an amazing place. I learned a ton about it yesterday. We have a podcast called Feel Your Impact, and we talk a lot about it on there. But it's exciting to we started in Haiti, but to, go global. And now we're manufacturing at this amazing facility in Honduras and then moving into India. And, there's such a bad rap on apparel manufacturing, but there are some incredible places that are, completely solar and just doing amazing things where literally you can see other factories down the road with their black plumes of smoke. And, ours is just this fresh steam coming out. And so it's exciting to expand. So yeah, we have 100% organic cotton coming out next year. And then super sneak peek, but we definitely have some hoodies in the making by the fall of next year. So I can't say a ton about that, but we're really, really excited because we know a lot of our customers and a lot of print shops really wants more options for eco-friendly fleece. So we are working on that.
That's awesome. So for our listeners that want to know more about Allmade, give us a sense of where folks can follow you, find you, learn more about the brand and the product offering.
Yeah, go follow us on social at Allmade Apparel. We are always, we love chatting with people who want to learn more about how to sell, a premium product better. So feel free to reach out to us, or you can hit up contact@allmade.com or mel@allmade.com if you'd like to chat with me more. And we'd love to get you some samples and talk to you more about, why Allmade's a great product to have in your shop.
Awesome. Well, we're going to end on a note of gratitude. Mel Lay, thank you for joining us and taking the time to share the backstory and give some of your insight and advice. I also want to compliment you on being a super turbo successful female entrepreneur. So it's nice to see additional leaders in our space representing the non-male perspective. So good on you. An amazing backstory and success with SandiLake and bringing that experience to Allmade. I'm really excited to see what the brand will continue to do and produce. And so anyway, thanks for taking the time to join us today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, man. Thank you so much. It's been a blast.
All right, Mel. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.